must have heard you. I didn't know it.
You're working on a movie set in the video game universe. How does it feel to be working with that aesthetic and that being back in that universe again?
Being back in the Batman?
And particularly the Arkham Asylum, where the games are being set.
I can't talk about the games at all. Did they tell you that?
They didn't, but that's
yeah. We can't talk about the games because it's still an ongoing project. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
You got another question?
No. Someone else. I've asked those questions.
Do you feel like your performance has evolved or changed over the years since you've been voicing this character?
You know, the challenge to me has been to keep it consistently truthful and fresh. Because the thing I've discovered about the Batman universe, the whole legacy, it involves the audience so much. The fans are so loyal. It's so huge that they actually know a lot more about the character than I do. They know, they can go up and say, you know, in episode 341, when you said this to so-and-so, what were you meaning? And I think, I don't know what this person's talking about. They know so much more about it that if I hit a false note at any time, I'll be nabbed like that. So the challenge for me has been to keep it really honest and keep it really fresh. And it's been challenging over 23 years to do that. And I hope I've done it.
Being 75 years of Batman, what does it feel like to be part of Batman for 20 years?
Isn't that amazing?
Right?
To be a part of something like that and to be doing the role for so long. It's you know, as an actor, it's just a very lucky break to stumble into something like that. But you know, you're sort of the culmination of it.
So how does this feel to take an established video game universe? You've done so much great stuff in animation, and make a story within that universe that now has 4 upcoming games, with that continuity.
I mean, it's great because I'm a big fan of I'm a big gamer, so I played all the games, and one of the things for me was just trying to capture the feel of playing the video games in the movie, but not hamstring the movie too much, because I didn't want it to seem like it's an ad for the video game, right? So what I try to do is try to hook up how the tone and look of Arkham Asylum looks. Actually, it looks actually different than the first game in the sense that it's actually clean, because it's before the inmates had actually destroyed it all. And one of the things that I did kind of just in the fight choreography is I have little subtle hints of the fight moves that you do when you play the video game. I actually incorporate it into the fight choreography. So you'll see that, as well as trying to see what they did with what they did in the Warner Brothers games and trying to hook up to that, because I had to work extensively with those guys and say, hey, I want to use these characters, is that okay? And then they'll give me a list of saying who they like, who they will allow us to use, and who they're like, oh, we have plans for this character. So going back and forth was kind of fun doing that.
Oh, awesome.
Did you have to change your directing approach to fit powerful roles?
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, when I got the script, from Heath Corson, the first thing that came to my head was like, if I direct this the way that we normally do, I don't think I'd enjoy it very much, just because it's very different than what we normally do. So I pitched an idea to James Tucker. I asked James, like, hey, James, I have this idea for this script. Do you mind if I try directing this like a Guy Ritchie film, right? And he's like, yeah, that sounds great. So he was very supportive of that, because I wanted to make it, because it's a heist film, and I love Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. So that's why when I directed this, it's there, it's subtle. We didn't go as crazy as what Guy would do, but I wanted to get that feel in there, like a very Ocean's 11 and Steve Soderbergh kind of feel to the heist film, which we don't really get with these superhero films,
You said superhero films. The DC animated universe, usually you are within the wheelhouse of the superhero when the superhero has to come out triumphant. This is something different where the villains are there and the villains are the main characters within the movie.
Yes.
How did that change anything that you normally do?
Actually, it's actually quite freeing, because normally I have to follow what would Superman do here? Well, Superman makes sure that the pedestrians are safe. He's gonna do everything that Superman is, and same thing with Batman. But with these villains, like, they don't care about collateral damage. They don't. For them, it's like, I need to do the job, or else this bomb in the back of my head's gonna explode because Waller doesn't like what I did. So it's kind of free and kind of fun, and play with the fact that you're playing with characters that really have very different morals than Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, and then how they would approach certain situations are totally different, and just playing with that idea of of what would these characters do in real life based upon their backgrounds, you know. But still, like I try to do, like in the story, it's really about Deadshot's story. So I want to make sure he's very empathetic. Like his thing is like he's been on every Suicide Mission squad. I mean, every mission in the Suicide Squad, and he is kind of sick of it, and he wants to get out of it, but he can't. But in this movie, he finds a way that there's actually an opening for him to get out of it, and that's where he tries to. Like all of them are all out. All of the Suicide Squad is all out to get. They all have their own agendas, and it's great to kind of see like them all kind of collide and fight each other, you know, and then throwing Batman into the mix.
So it seems that like most stories of this sort of approach start with like going off him, start with the hero, and sort of branch out to see how the villains react to him. But this time it sounds like Batman is the foil to the story. He's like the reaction.
Yeah, actually, it's more of along the lines where Waller has her own agenda, and it just so happens that Batman's investigations actually, like, not coincide, but they actually intersect at a certain point, and it all collides with Riddler. He's like the linchpin. Like, it's because of him that it leads Batman's investigations to Arkham on the same night that Waller has set up this kind of heist in Arkham. And it's because of that Batman doesn't end up being the kind of foil to their plan. At some point, their agenda actually is almost coinciding because of the fact that Joker is now released, and now in order for not everybody to die in the explosion, they have to work together to kind of, you know, live.
Joker is obviously a lot of people's favorite. What's your favorite villain?
Harley, yes. I actually did the character design for Harley. After reading the story, I knew it was a Deadshot story, but just like with Flashpoint with Thomas Wayne, there was something about Harley's story that I'm like, there's something here, and so I pushed her to the forefront. I tried to make sure that she got as much screen time as Deadshot, you know, and even like any kind of promotional stuff. I'm always saying like Harley should be the one that we push because I love that character. She's great.
Was there anyone you wanted to use?
I mean, I wanted to use Killer Croc, but Warner Brothers Games said like, oh, we have plans for him, so we can't use him. So I was like, okay, but we were able to use some of the other like favorites, like Bane. I think Scarecrow's in it too, but just a very, very short brief. But we have other characters that you'll see.
Are there future opportunities to do more stories in the Arkham Asylum universe, do you think?
I wish. I mean, what's great about this is that we do 2 movies a year based on the New 52 continuity, like Son of Batman, War, and then we have an Elseworld slot that we do, you know, any number of things. So this one fell into that slot. So hopefully, you know, it'll free us to do different continuities. We could do New 52, we could do more Arkham films if it sells well, because remember, this is all based on whether or not this DVD sells well. But if it does well, it means that we can explore more avenues into the Arkham universe, which I'd love to do, because it gives us a little bit more freedom to just kind of stretch to do different storylines.
Are you a fan of the games as well?
Oh yeah, I played the games extensively. I loved it. It was so much, but it's hard to, with the amount of work that I have to do, it's hard sometimes to do it, because I literally have to go home, and then when everybody's asleep, I sneak in and I just have to play like 4 hours before I pass out. And that's the hard thing, because then I got to draw for another 5 hours. So that's where it's hard.
Have you talked with Warner Brothers in terms of making this maybe a DLC for Batman Arkham Knight? Incorporating like cross promotion?
I think that'd be great. I mean, what's funny is that while we were working on this, they released the DLC that had Deathstroke in it, and I was like, oh man, that doesn't hook up with what we were doing, and so that's why I mentioned how I think that first time you seen the DLC was the first Suicide Squad that was really when Deathstroke was in there, and I firmly believe that Deadshot was in that squad. But as each mission goes on, you know, villains would start to die. But I think Deadshot was in every single one. But somewhere along the lines from the DLC to where ours starts, Deathstroke escaped. So I think that'd be kind of an interesting storyline for them to go back and try to, you know, that'd be great. Yeah, I would love to play that too. I always have fun with Deathstroke. He's one of my favorite characters.
He's one of the best in DC.
Oh yeah, totally. Anybody else?
And it's the 75th anniversary of Batman this year as well.
Yes.
What does that mean to you? What does that mean as someone who's worked with Batman for?
It's great. I mean, what's funny is that, you know, I was in line for the '89 Batman when I was a kid, you know, and you know, now that I work on all this stuff, it's like a dream come true and stuff. But it's really cool because I mean I did the Superman 75 short that last year, so I was hoping I'd do one for this year, but then Bruce did his short, so it kind of filled up that slot. But it's kind of fun. I mean, I got to work on Batman vs Superman with Zach, so I got to still do Batman earlier this year. Working, I just did Arkham. I have another Batman film that I'll be doing next, so. Batman's just fun. I just love the fact that it's just a celebration of Batman. And hopefully they'll ask me to do one for the 100th anniversary, because I got great ideas to do the 100th anniversary, if I'm still around. Yeah, no, knock on wood. Anybody else?
You're doing another Batman movie.
Gary's going to announce it, I believe, today, most likely. So we always announce our next slate, and I did the next Batman film there. So. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I gotta say that it's everybody asks me what my favorite film is. It's always the one that I'm currently working on. So this one I think is probably the best one I've done so far. So it's really good. I can't tell you, but until Gary announces it, but it's pretty badass.
It would be called Batman Saves the Young Justice.
I wish, but someday maybe we'll do a Young Justice direct-to-video or something.
I would love that.
Movie, yeah.
That's like all our fans love.
Young Justice, yeah.
Like, we missed it. I can't wait for the Blu-ray.
Oh yeah. I mean that's why, because Phil Barraza does most of our designs. He didn't do this movie, but he does all of our Son of Batman, Justice League War and stuff. So we always talk about the Young Justice days, and we always talk about if we'd ever do a direct-to-video and stuff, and what would we change. I mean that's why I put Calder into Flashpoint, because I was trying to populate the boat with people, and I was just like, let's put Aqualad in there, and Garth and Tula. And,
that was awesome.
So that was fun. That was me
I love
just
when you get
putting
Young
that in.
Justice characters in these movies.
Oh yeah.
Make them in there.
Oh yeah.
For the best.
That's cool. Anybody else? I would love to do Gotham by Gaslight. That's one of the ones I'd love to do. I mean, everybody says Kingdom Come, but that would be only if Warner Bros. Opened up a theatrical and we had 5 years of development and stuff. Because I mean, the only way you could do it is if it was CG, but CG where it looked like Alexis Ross's watercolor paintings and stuff. But that's a lot. I mean, I remember we make these films, we do 3 a year, and we do it 3 months, 4 months, and then we go on to something else. So to do something like Kingdom Come and do it justice, we would need to have a theatrical division that would tackle that. But I'd love to do that. Let's see, Crisis on Infinite Earths would be kind of fun. I don't know how we could do it in one movie, probably 2 movies. There's lots of stuff that I'd love to do. So, any particular ones you guys like?
The Killing Joke.
Okay, Killing Joke would be good. That would be good too.
First, I'd love to see the full adaptation of All Star.
Oh yeah.
There was some of the weird.
Oh yeah, we had to condense it down. Yeah.
It's not hard to blood in my opinion.
Oh, who knows? They might do it. Well, luckily, Dark Knight Returns 1 and 2 sold really well, so we might end up, exploring more of the two-parters, because it sold well. If it didn't sell well, then you know what? No more two-parters.
I'd love to see an animated version of Judgment on Gotham with Batman
cool.
versus Dredd.
That would be very, very cool. I don't know how we'd get the rights for that, but that would be awesome. I'm a huge Judge Dredd fan too, so I love it. That's so good.
Like a Snipe.
Like a Snipe would be cool. Yeah. Although I think we'd have to do that as a two-parter. I think it's a huge story.
Yeah, but I've been a Green Lantern fan forever, so that would be
perfect.
For me, that would just be the epitome of watching. Especially after the movie wasn't that great. I need something else. And then they canceled the animated series too.
I know. But yeah, hopefully we'll get to that. I mean, I want to do more Green Lantern. Yeah.
Kind of streaming it on Netflix while I was packing. So.
I think if we had done Young Justice, kind of like the Netflix thing where we just make it as packages and then you just watch it, I think it probably would have done a lot better than just airing every week and how.
Yeah, if not separating it. By
Ready to go?
We're moving.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Nice to see you too. Thank you. Nice, my other show.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Hello. What's up? It's good. I love being here. I really do. It's the energy is so contagious. You can't help. It's exhausting, but everybody here, I'm sure you guys have been experiencing it too. People bump into you because it's so crowded, but they always apologize. Everybody here is so nice, and everybody's here for the same reason, which is to have a good time. So thank you guys for being here.
And it feels like a very accepting, safe environment, doesn't it? People just celebrate their own thing and they're comfortable.
It's generous. It's very generous. It really is. So what can I tell you? What do you want to know about?
back with Kevin?
It's a joy every single time. And I'll tell you, when you watch the film, if you are like me, you're hearing whatever's going on, and then you hear Kevin's voice, and it's kind of like, it's the touchstone. It's like, yeah, I know what that is now. I know what this world is. It's got Kevin's Batman in it. And so I always, whenever I'm offered these jobs, because I'm a freelance director, the first question I ask is, can I use Kevin Conroy? And sometimes they say yes, and sometimes they say no. And I'm always so grateful when they say yes. It, of course, made sense in this project because he's in the game, so it was affiliated, so it made sense to have that continuity whenever I can.
You were the one who originally cast him.
I did.
So how does it feel to be almost responsible for this pillar of Batman? This individual who is epitomized Batman for so many.
I'm so glad I got it right. Wouldn't it have been horrible if I screwed up in that beginning? It would have been just dreadful. We probably wouldn't be talking about it, right? But it was a very long, arduous casting experience from the beginning. I heard over 500 auditions. I called back 120 to 150 actors, and then narrowed it down. And Kevin wasn't in that first group; he didn't audition yet. And Bruce, Tim, and I said, well, we think we have it. We think these 4 guys could probably do it. And then I talked to an on-camera casting director, friend of mine, said, do you know anybody with a really good voice? And they said, oh, you should try Kevin Conroy. Reached out to him, brought him in. He opened his mouth, and Bruce, Tim, and I went, done. We found it. It's done. And so from that moment on, it's always a relief when it's Kevin Conroy. It makes my job easier.
Kevin mentioned one of the challenges was staying consistent over all these years.
Yeah.
Is that a challenge for you?
Sure. And if you listen to the first episodes of Batman the Animated Series, it doesn't sound the same as he sounds now. We were still figuring out what that series was. It was still a little cartoony early on. And at that point, too, we were distinguishing between Batman and Bruce Wayne's voice. There's a slight difference between the two. Now we pretty much keep it consistent. But yeah, it's constantly evolving, and we don't always want to keep doing the exact same thing. So, Batman has always played a little bit differently in each thing that we do, project that we do, whether it's a game or I think about his work on the game, and I didn't direct the game, but video game directing, and I don't do a lot of games because it is mind-numbing. How many lines have to be recorded, how many oofs, how many ughs, how many strains, how many screams, how many sounds. And he's been talking about how weeks and weeks and weeks of recording for the games. I prefer this is pretty much a 6-week recording window to get all the actors recorded on the initial record before we ship. Then it ships to Asia, wherever we're animating, it comes back, and then we have another 3-4 weeks to get the ADR done. But video games, I do all the Blizzard stuff, the Diablo and StarCraft and World of Warcraft, and I'm just doing, we announced it last night so I can finally talk about it, we're doing a Firefly game with all the original cast. And so I know them all over the years because I was such a huge fan of the show that over the years I've cast them as various characters, so I could actually reach out to them directly. It wasn't very hard to get their yes, Do you want to come back and play Malgan? Sure, and it's hell's yes is what they would say. So, and those are the only video games that I do because it's not that they're boring, they're stressful on the actors' voices, and they're repetitive. Every character has to do all the same throwing sounds, punching sounds, getting punched, running. It's just over and over and over. It's not very dramatic. I like acting. That certainly is voice acting, but it's not acting.
Yeah.
An oof as opposed to, I love you.
Yeah,
You haven't asked a question, have you? No. Do you have a question? Nothing.
Everybody's asking another one.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a deep love for voice acting, so seeing you is just...
Don't you love them? I love actors so much. I do.
You're sort of this nebulous figure in the voice acting world and community of Hollywood. Everyone who should be voice acting should have worked with you at some point, or should know who you are, and hopefully they know who they are. As you did back in the day, find Kevin. Do you have your eye for any voice actors who you are expecting great things from? Not necessarily the DC world, but
Yeah. There's been many actors, and I'm not trying to blow my own horn, but there's been many actors for whom I've started their careers, and I've had to fight for them. For example, when we were doing Teen Titans, they were not convinced that Greg Sipes was the right Beast Boy. And I said, absolutely, I'm telling you, he's brand new, he's not done this before, he's really not an established voiceover actor. I said, I am telling you, he is Beast Boy. I have a gut feeling this is the guy. And every once in a while I'm wrong. It happens, but I have a good ear for it. It's why I have a certain amount of success in this business. And there's been a couple of them that I've really literally started their careers because I found them, meaning just I've auditioned and found them, and they said this person deserves to have a successful career in this field, and so I try to help them. And then we're a very generous community, the voiceover community and the casting directors. And so when I find someone like Greg Sipes, I will call up other casting directors and say, I found a great young voice actor. He's not that young an actor, but he sounds really young. So or a Hynden Walsh, when you need someone to sound like a 13-year-old girl, but you cannot hire a youth, you must hire an adult, go to Hynden. She can do it for you. She's just got that ability. And so we're very sharing that way and letting people know about, here's a special voiceover actor. Thanks, you guys. Good to see you all. Thank you.
How does it feel to work in the Batman Arkham world and like right around that with 4 games now in company, like being in that company?
It's a lot of fun. It's a little bit of a challenge because we had to track timeline-wise where everybody was, ending in Origins and then beginning in Asylum, and then we sort of had to get all those moving pieces together and make sure that we were doing it all justice.
Right.
Also, in the Arkhamverse, you're dealing with some very grounded people. We don't have a lot of superpowers in the Arkhamverse. So even though we're dealing with the Suicide Squad, we can't put anybody who's wildly powerful. I think the only person we have is Killer Frost, who actually has powers in this world. So even somebody like King Shark, we had to ground. We had to give him a reason for being this kind of guy. So yeah, but it's incredibly exciting to be able to play in this world. I'm a big fan of the games. I'm a big fan of Batman. I'm a big fan of Suicide Squad. So it was super fun.
I can't wait for the movie tonight.
Has anybody seen the movie? It's awesome, guys. It's so fun. It's amazing. Okay, here we go. We open on Gotham City. No.
So from the previous interview, so got a hint that, well, not a hint, an impression that we're still returning to more classic aspects of the animated series. Like, the original design of Amanda Waller, getting Kevin's voice back in.
Look, Amanda Waller has gained a lot of weight. She is under a lot of stress from when she showed up in, even though it's a couple years, she's been doing some heavy-duty stress eating.
Yeah, but more along the lines of, like, has it been really fun to sort of, even though it's in the game universe, to leap back into the aesthetic and aspects of the original animated.
Well, I think that the games have always tipped a hat to the Batman the Animated Series, down to having Kevin and having Paul Dini write City and Arkham. So I think that there is always, it feels like we're carrying on that rich tradition, and this feels like the kind of story that could take place in the Batman the Animated Series. So I wanted to be able to do Suicide Squad in that world. Yeah.
You have to call them Suicide Squad, too.
We do call them to a Suicide Squad, yeah. Well, Waller calls them the Suicide Squad because she hates them. Yeah. And is just sort of like, we'll call them she calls them convicts, she calls them Task Force. She says assemble Task Force X. Yeah. But then after that, they call her their own personal Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah. Because you can see that in the animation.
Yeah.
How much input did Rocksteady have on this?
Rocksteady gave me notes on the script, so they wanted to make sure there were things that they would say, listen, in our world, the thing that you're saying is this, is actually this. And I was like, okay, cool. I also wanted to make sure that you would see a bunch of the locations that you've played through in the game, so I set stuff that you had played through. I also was like, hey, how come we've never seen the property room at Arkham? Like, you lock up all these guys, and they have all this stuff, and you take all of their equipment, and you put it somewhere. why haven't we seen that room? And what happens when a bunch of other villains comes in and starts using the other villains' weapons? So you're actually going to see the Suicide Squad utilizing some other weapons of the other villains. And so there's a lot of Easter eggs in there. Yeah.
It sounds like it's good that you guys are approaching. There's like sort of just from like a fun perspective and like an enjoyment perspective.
There's a lot of fun. It's a con movie. Like, it's a heist movie. So it's very Quentin Tarantino. It's very Guy Ritchie inspired. There's a lot of con aspects, and it pivots quite a bit because you've got all these guys bopping up against each other because they are not a team. They don't like each other, and they're just sort of thrown together, and they're bad guys. And bad guys don't have a whole lot of impulse control. If they hate you, they're going to hit you in the face. If they want to stab you, they're going to try to stab you. So you're going to see a lot of people getting on each other's nerves.
Any favorite members of the Suicide Squad for you?
I needed to have Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, and Harley. Yeah. And I mean, we're in a unique position with Harley in that she has broken up with the Joker.
Yeah.
She is, I sort of played her as if like, she's out of college. She's sort of going to make some new friends. She's broken up with the old boyfriend. She's out to make some bad decisions. And she does.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when Mr. J's around.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's sort of her trying out what she wants to be after that. You know, what's going to happen without the Joker? And who am I now? Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Great to see you again.
You too, man. How have you been? Thanks, man. What's up? Oh, hi, Brian. Brian gets to ask a question because he didn't get to ask a question last time. You get to ask a question because you didn't get to ask a question last time.
Do you want to ask a question first? Okay, I'll ask a question. You just hate letting me to ask. Okay, so the difference between active voice for film as opposed to voicing for a game, you approach it the same way.
I think you have to approach it the same way. And, you know, when you're doing a game, you've got hours upon hours upon hours to tell that story. Whenever you do, you know, a film, you've got, in our case, like 120 minutes. Or if you're doing a show, you've got 22 minutes. So everything is telling little small stories. So it's more like the process that you get that information through. We really kind of focused this within like 3 or 4 sittings. So it was, let's get through the content. But the cool thing is that when, you know, the temptation for that is to go, well, hang on, let's really take some time with this. But when you're sitting across the glass from Andrea Romano, who's been doing that job for over 20 years, you're good. You know, just shut up and listen because there's such a rich history and experience there. That was one of the best things. I mean, I remember growing up as a kid, all I wanted to do was work with Andrea Romano. And so to be able to sit in the booth as, you know, on Batman, as the Joker, I'm done, man. I hang it up. That's like the best thing for me, especially to be able to be with my Batman, Kevin Conroy.
Do you want to go? Okay, sorry.
Sure.
Troy, you have voiced now several different Batman characters.
Yeah.
Two-Face, now the Joker, which you definitely proved in yourself in the last one, which is amazing.
Thank you.
You were the highlight. And we got now plenty of action figures, so whether it's Two-Face, Joker, who's your favorite look design of that character that you have voiced, toy-wise or just aesthetically in the game or the movies?
Aesthetically, to me, you know, it's always like, oh, who's your favorite? It's like, you don't want to say a favorite, but I definitely would say aesthetically, I think the Joker is the most compelling. I love the way he looked in Arkham Origins.
Yeah.
I love the way he looks in Assault on Arkham. Because there's almost, it's like this cool little combination between like the animated series and that typical style, and then also like almost an anime style. The action specifically is very like anime. So I really got to say, I mean, he's such an interesting character to just look at, and there's so much of the story and the character is told just by looking at the guy. Like, you'll see when you watch the movie, there's just, the first time you see it, there's just one long shot, and you're like, that's a creepy guy, you know, just by look. And there's not a lot of characters that can impose such a persona simply just by looking.
I know. You definitely bring that out.
Well, thank you. You had a question, Lana.
I was just going to ask if it was surreal to play against the Batman you grew up watching.
If I thought about it too hard, then my mind would have exploded. Yeah, I mean that's my Batman, you know, but it's so funny because every time, and like talking to Kevin, he's just very pleasant, but as soon as he steps on that mic and you hear that Batman come through, that's a different person. It's a really different person. And again, it's just written so well. You guys know. We're good. It's good. Come on. Okay. But yeah, that's probably gonna be the best thing about this is that working with my Batman and my favorite character. It's like, thank you guys. Rapid fire.
Thanks again, man.
You too, man. Cheers.
How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Thanks for having me. Some ninjas.
Love your hair.
Hey, thanks. It's a toupee. I'm kidding. That's terrible. How's it going, guys? Having fun?
Yeah, definitely.
Time of your life. I like these microphones. Can I hold this? I feel cooler. I feel cooler holding microphones.
Yeah.
How's this look?
Yeah, you look great.
Like Kurt Loder from MTV?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Oh, my God, MTV.
Taking it back to like 1992?
Oh, my God, I know, even before TRL and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Dang. Oh, MTV. It used to be music.
I know, now it's all reality shows.
Yeah.
They do, they certainly do.
Some stuff. But yeah, like, how does it feel being on this project, like being in this universe and everything? How's the experience been?
It's been an absolute pleasure. I grew up with an incredible soft spot for villains for whatever reason. I think we all do, right? They're the most interesting character in anything. They're the most fun, and I love Batman, so to get to play the Riddler is just a dream come true. An absolute dream come true.
I know, and I really can't wait to see the movie tonight.
It's really good, man. I'm biased, clearly, but it's a masterpiece.
Oh. Well, good. We'll put down the back of the
Please do.
Blu-ray.
Say, Matthew Gray Gubler says it's a masterpiece. My favorite villain growing up was the Joker, followed closely by... That's a great question. Gargamel, maybe? I'm going deep in the villain lore here. Gargamel. I loved Greedo. I remember I had an imaginary friend as a kid, and it was Greedo from Star Wars. I don't know why, but for a minute there, I got really depressed. I was like, who the hell is this lady? I love you. Great shirt. I love Star Wars. I love your Star Wars shirt. And then I would say the Joker, the Riddler, and the Penguin, if we were talking about comic books. Yeah.
Do you have any riddles for us?
Riddle me this. My riddle for you is to give me a riddle. How do you like that?
What's black and white and red all over?
A newspaper.
Oh, you got it.
You can't trick the Riddler. You can't. Yeah, I really am the Riddler. You cannot trick the Riddler.
That was a fun. So, yeah.
Is there a character in Batman that you want to voice next?
The Riddler again. I love it. I felt really comfortable in his shoes, and I would love that. I mean, I love playing him.
To create the Riddler, did you draw on any of the other people who played the Riddler over the years? He's been played by some great actors.
He's been played by some phenomenal actors, and I'm so lucky to be in their trajectory. I'm familiar with them, having always watched Batman, whether it was the Adam West show or the Tim Burton movies or the Christopher Nolan movies, but I didn't really refer to any of that. I looked more towards P.T. Barnum and the sort of showman from the turn of the century, and my hope was to create a more oddly a more extroverted Riddler, while at the same time being internally actually crippled by the fear of not getting answers to his own questions. So a little more obsessive compulsive. If anything, I would say Larry David informed the Riddler is the odd thing. Larry David and P.T. Barnum.
Wow.
What are you most excited for the end of the movie?
The ending's pretty phenomenal. I would say that. Yeah. That was a lame answer. Sorry. I'm not going to the ending. Oh. Yeah, I know. I just ruined it. The ending is... It's a real ending. It fades to black, and there's some credits. Okay. Except for the credits. Yeah. No, I'm excited for the ending. It's Soprano-style ending.
Just your name and it fades and it's done.
Yeah.
That's a question mark. There you go.
Exactly. The end. Fiend.
And you're a gamer as well, and you played the Arkham games.
I've not played the Arkham game, or games, plural. I'm sure I would love them. My problem is I love video games so much that I had to cut myself off around the time I got to college, because I was like, I'm spending 11 hours playing a video game, and I should be editing movies or doing something a little more with other people. So I sadly had to quit cold turkey. One day I'll go down that dark path again. You can be my enabler. We'll go together.
Or you can start directing video games.
I like that. That's amazing. How fun that would be, right? And then you just solved the question, the riddle.
That's what I'm doing.
You're a riddle-less instead of a riddler, a riddle-less. A riddle-less?
Hey, riddler should.
Does that work? A female riddler, a riddle-less?
Yeah, so there's no man in riddlers, like it'd be gender neutral.
Sorry, say it again.
Riddler's kind of gender neutral, I think.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. Guys, thank you for everything.
Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, we're the Guardians of the Galaxy, and we're here to... We're too late, aren't we? Sorry, Star-Lord, but our movie comes out this week, and Hasbro only made 3 out of the 5 of us. You gotta be kidding me! After all these years, that's like making Rocket Raccoon a Build-A-Figure. We need a toy.